All right, so you catch fire after London, and you win about 1 million races in a row. And this is probably going to be a difficult question for you to answer, but I'm going to try anyway. You're sailing against the other best sailors in the world, and you don't lose a single race, and then you go and win gold at Rio by the biggest margin ever. So what is it? How were you so much better than the rest, like the field? What was it? What specifically was it that made you and Pete incredibly better than everyone else?
Yeah, well, it was certainly a heck of a run, and yeah, I don't think that's really been done before in sailing to go that many races unbeaten. And I guess the reason it has in sailing, because you're always in different conditions. You might do one race in a light weather venue, or the next one in windy or in waves versus flat water. So it's never exactly the same, and it's hard to be better than people in all of those different conditions. But I guess that's where we got to in the end, and or not quite in the end, but like in that from 2013, 2014 onwards, where we went way better in we were just like a little bit better in across everything, whether it was the boat speed and the light, medium, and heavy conditions, or the way we started, or the decision making around the course. Just globally, we were just stronger, really. And in sailing, you're lucky because it's not just it's one regatta. It's one regatta or one competition. So we're not beating everyone in every single race, but across 10 or 12 or 15 races in a competition, that's where you can get that consistency. So yeah, it was a phenomenal run, and yeah, that was some awesome memories through that time.
There's one story which I think kind of captures how far ahead you were. It was the 2014 World Sailor of the Year awards, which resulted in a missed flight, right?
Not quite a missed flight.
Not
Close.
quite a missed flight.
Yeah.
A very hungover flight, maybe.
Yeah, that would be right. Okay, that's a good yarn. So yeah, we had this regatta in Rio. Actually, I think it was our second trip there, and like at that stage, 2.5 years out from the Olympics, you're really trying to get as much time at the venue as you can. Rio was a super tricky place to sail, right in the harbour there in the bay, so we're trying to get as much time as we could there. It was like November 2014. At that time, we'd been nominated for the World Sailor of the Year awards, which were up in Palma in Spain. So that was our first time being nominated. It's quite a big thing. So like, okay, we'll go up to that, but then we'll fly straight back. And it was the regatta that was going on in Rio. It wasn't like a big regatta. I think it was the South Americans or something like that. And so we'll go pick up the last 2 days or 3 days of that regatta. It was a four-day regatta.
So you're always going to miss one day?
Yeah, we thought we were going to miss 2 days, to be honest. We thought we were going to do 2 days, and so the result was irrelevant. We're like, oh, we'll just turn up and trying to get the time and whatnot. So we go to this World Sailor of the Year awards. Jimmy Spittle actually won it that was on the back of winning the America's Cup in 2013. So he was there, he won it. And the thing about those awards is it's not like a huge glitz and glamour event. It's actually done at like the World Sailoring Awards, and there's only the finalists for the men and women are there. So there's only probably 20 sailors or something like that. It's not a very big event. So we sort of finished. Everyone's in Palma in like November. There's not much going on. So we ended up at this Irish bar, as you do, and into a fairly large night, or really big actually, and basically had to get a flight from Palma at 6 a.m. or something, so there wasn't much sleep. Go through Madrid airport, which is like a massive airport, especially if you have to change terminals. Somehow, like we literally sprinted from one to the other, getting on trains and stuff, made it onto this flight direct to Rio from Madrid, and we're just like exhausted, super hungover. Like, at least we're here. So we basically slept all the flight, got there. Must have got there in the evening because we had another night to recover. Yeah. And then we started the next day, and we were just like, that was the second day of the regatta, and we just started like rigging up the boat. We were in like a huge rush, and then like after we got the boat rigged up, and then our coach Hamish was like, why don't you go and just get into it. We're like, nah, we haven't sailed for a bit. We don't want to just go out cold. And he's like, no, go for it. Best way to get back, get into it. So we kind of like got a little bit more of a hurry on, got out to this regatta. So now we're doing 3 days out of the 4, and started off that day really well. Got like a couple of firsts or something like that, and then basically went on to win the regatta somehow, even though we'd had to carry like 3 we had like 3 last places from the first day and like 25 boats. So it was a classic.
I hope word got out to the other sailors about like what
Yeah.
you'd been through, just to sort of rub it in. How
No,
far
they did, because like some of the other, I think like Charles Scott was one of the other people who he like sails with Ineos now and gold medal in the Finn in Tokyo, and he was there that night. He didn't even make it on his flight, so like the word had got back to like the British sailing team. It was like quite a big night, and someone else that like had come to a similar fate. So I mean, it was just we were pretty lucky we even made it, to be honest.
You mentioned the like the organisation to try and get through the airports, etc., etc. Do you guys travel just the two of you, or do you have a little entourage, or is it down to you guys to make that all work? And are you good at organisation and making sure you've got everything that you need in order to compete?
Yeah, so all the 49er stuff, all the Olympic stuff's a pretty tight team. So predominantly we fly with just the 2 of us, or sometimes our coach Hamish. And then, at times you sometimes have the wider New Zealand sailing team, like the Olympic sailing squad, and they offer like a reasonable amount of like logistical support, whatnot. But I think that's the unique thing about that Olympic environment in sailing, is that you're doing a lot of the organisation yourself. So for Pete and I, we'd be across every single aspect of the campaign, and whether it's knowing how a boat was going to get from one venue to the next, or how we're going to get the sails, or which accommodation we're staying in, or every single detail would be across.
Were you good at that at the start? Or did you have to learn that as you
No, you definitely learn it. Like, I mean...
did you ever get to a regatta and like, shit, we've got to send the boat? Or any horror stories like that?
No, I don't think we forgot a boat, but there's... certainly times where you forget like a minor part or a bit of clothing or something, but no, I think that was definitely one of our strengths, just that like attention to detail across so many things. And as you go on, our lives got busier. It was something that we really pride ourselves on still nailing, like not trying to let some bits slacken off or whatnot. Just you kind of just end up having to have a bit late at night to make sure you get it sorted or whatnot. But we're pretty famous for leaving things quite to the last minute. So if we're packing still at like 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning before a flight the next day, that'd be pretty normal.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So 28 major regattas you won between 2012 and 2016. 28. And 6 world titles. And then it's Rio, and you get named as the leaders of New Zealand, was it flag bearers, lead the team into the stadium, and you win gold. Like that experience, looking back now, I mean, a gold medal, from the beginnings of what we talked about, must be something that is one of the proudest moments of your career, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole experience in Rio was, phenomenal. It was definitely now, even we look back and know that was, probably the proudest moment of our careers, to firstly be named as the team captains and carrying the flag into Maracanã Stadium. And actually not just that part, but I think 2 days earlier when we had the announcement, we basically were in this like semicircle of at the village, and like all of our other teammates were there. The whole rest of the team, everyone was in the number ones, and they were all there. Didn't know who the team captains were at that stage, and we basically walked in and had the opportunity to speak to them at that stage. And
Must have had did you have a hunch that it was you?
no, we knew already.
Oh,
so,
sorry.
but they didn't know. So everyone's kind of like, But then you've got like New Zealand's best athletes there, and you've got the honour to lead that team and the country into the Olympic Games. Is
Because do you get cloaked? Is that when you get cloaked then?
Yes. So we had them on. Obviously, it was the first time having 2 at that point. Now we have like in Tokyo, we have a male and a female leader in the team the whole time. So, that kakaho was awesome. Actually, yeah, the whole thing was super cool. And then we had like 5 days or maybe a week before we actually started racing. So it was for us personally, even though it was some people saw it as like added pressure or whatnot, we actually loved the experience, and we kind of needed that kind of, I guess, that all the added boost to like really get us into the right mindset. And then, from that point we could just really concentrate on our work and get stuck in. But yeah, it was neat.
Did you have a hierarchy on who held the flag,
So-
or did you swap halfway through?
No, if it was Pete carried the flag, and I think I carried it at the end. I was just there helping along, making sure I didn't stuff it up, But yeah, it was amazing. My brother and cousin, who actually was working in the Olympic event, they were there like as we walked out the gate, so that was pretty neat to have, know that they were there at that point.
Awesome.
Do you have moments with Pete where, you've been with him for 10 years or so at this point, where you give him a little nudge, you're like, holy shit, Pete, like, look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah, well, I think there was actually a photo that came out of us doing a selfie, which we never normally do, really.
Yeah.
But like, at the point, we kind of like done the first part, and we were just like, holy fuck, like, look at this,
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. So
I don't know if you can do a around the world race and a selfie. I think those two things don't really
Yeah,
go together.
yeah.
Eh?
Hard to
The
get you
sailors
both in
will be
shot if
frowning
you're in
upon,
different boats.
on that behaviour.